So hello everybody, welcome to another YouTube video on the ARCUS channel. Today we're gonna address a real difficult but most interesting topic, and it's the combination of bows and instruments in the term of sound. And it is a very important subject. You probably have all made experienced how different strings work on a given instrument. But the same is true for bows. When we developed our first bows and made our first bows like 21 years ago, we figured that for some instruments that worked just fantastic and for others not at all. And we didn't know exactly why, and then only later figured out it was about the tuning of the bows. And you can actually try that on your bow. If you hold it loosely and tap it, you can actually hear its tone. And it's the same as true, by the way, for instruments. They also have their own tones, and they are quite different. And the same is true with the bows, like with strings. And so over the years we developed a range of different bows, of different lines of bows with a different tuning. Our brightest sounding bows is the S series. They are the lightest and quite stiff. They work fantastic with darker sounding violins, as I will show you in just a minute. And the warmest ones, or the darkest ones, are the P bows, which work fantastic with brighter sounding instruments. The other way around doesn't sound good at all. In the middle, in the center of it, we have the T model and the M. The T is, by the way, our latest edition. We make them only since last year. And yeah, let me first show you how the extreme ends of this works or doesn't work. So let's begin with I think that's the brightest sounding fiddle that I have here in the shop, and I'll show you how that works or sounds with an S series bows. So a complete mismatch. Sorry for my bad playing, but it's funny, you know, when I play with a bow that doesn't match a violin, it irritates me so much that I just can't play properly. It's funny, but that's how it is. Now let's try the P bow. So for me, that works a lot better, and you know, when this violin with the S bow sounded really crappy and didn't have a voice that I liked, with a P bow, it's a completely different thing. And I've already chosen some warmer sounding strings. I think that's Kaplan Amo strings I have on this violin. But it needs both warm sounding strings and lower tuned bow, like the P series bows, to make it sound pretty, not only acceptable, but quite nice actually. Though its character normally would be too bright for me, but with this bow and with those strings, that's fine. Now let's look at the other end of the board here. This is an older German fiddle that's been adjusted in a pretty warm way, lower bass bar and stuff. And so let's try that with a wrong bow. So only for the G string you can already tell that this is mushy, too dark, it loses focus. So let's try the S bow. So you can tell it's actually quite a dramatic change in how the instrument works. Let me also try the E string on the same instrument and see how that works. So yes, you can play with a P bow on that instrument, but it's kind of dull. It's not really interesting, and it doesn't have the punch. And with the S bow, it's just fantastic. So, what kind of instrument do you have, and where do you want to go with the sound? Really, one very good starting point is if you look at the strings that you like or dislike. If you tend to go for brighter sounding strings, you might also want a brighter sounding bow to go with it, and the other way around. So that is a very good indication. And then we have instruments that are more balanced, not really bright, not really dark. And again, we have two different bows with a little different characteristics. So I've picked here a violin that is a little bit on the bright side only and a little bit closed, and that opens up so nicely with the M bow and also gets more warmth and roundness. And here I have a violin that is, I would say, about perfect in its balance and everything, and the T bows then really bring out all the good stuff this instrument can deliver. I mentioned before that this is a new development that we made, and we discovered that we can make bows that sound both bright and dark at the same time. And so when you have a good instrument or a nicely balanced instrument, this is just amazing. It just opens it up so nicely. So let's try this a little bit closed instrument, just a tiny bit, and try this with a T-bow. So it's with the M bow, it's instantly a little rounder, more of a human voice. The T bow is a little too much for this violin under my ear. That was the A string. Let's try the D string for comparison. This time I'll start with the M bow, so with a good one. I would say on the D string, it's not really a difference. And that's what I feel generally is on the D string, most instruments, most violins just work just fine with pretty much every bow. Still there's a difference if you, for example, choose an aluminum or silver bound D string, but in regard of the bow, it really doesn't make too much difference. But on the A or on the E string or on the G, you can actually hear that a lot clearer, and it makes quite a big difference. Let's try the E string. To my ear, the second bow, which was a T bow, is just a little too sharp, a little hard on the ear, while the M bow gives me just the sweetness that I'm looking for. So it's these finer points, but you know, given I had this violin and a T bow, I might still find a good solution by trying out some other strings or doing some small adjustments. So the T and M are the ones that are working with a majority of instruments. Again, if you do some small adjustments here or there. Anyway, that is something I would recommend to do in that order. So you start with a certain instrument, then you choose your bow, because that's like the second most important decision to make, and finally you go to strings. So you should not expect like you change your bow and then that the strings that you played before are still the best choice. So when you change bow, try different strings again, and try to find exactly what you're looking for, what you're after. Do you really want more brilliance or more warmth? And then ask around or read what you can find about the best possible selection of strings. So there you have it. We have 4 different bows, 4 different series of bows, all, by the way, all the same class. They're all 7-class bows, so there's no difference in the quality. And given a particular or a special sounding instruments, it's clear, like for this bright sounding violin, it's definitely the P bow. For this dark sounding violin, it's definitely the S. And then we have a lot of medium build, medium sounding violins where we have quite a choice. Let me get you one last example of what happens with this, I would say, perfectly balanced violin when we go from dark to bright. So for me, this was really like this, this level. So the P bow, for me, the instrument didn't show what it can do. The M bow was okay, quite good actually. Warmer, if you like that character, if you prefer that. But the T bow really brought out the best of it. And then the S bow was maybe already a little too much, but given you're a concertmaster or a soloist, you might still want the S bow to go with this kind of violin, because you can use all the brilliance you can get, because it does improve projection and power. So if you want to get want to get heard over the whole orchestra, then the S-bow might still be the very best choice for you. And also, like for example, even if you have a rather bright sounding violin, you might still go for something like a T-bow if you really want to be heard, or if you're like a fiddler or something. For my taste, if let's say I play second violin and string quartet, definitely too bright. If I play in the orchestra, especially in the opera, most probably too bright. So a brighter sounding violin with a T-bow. For a first violin, or for a violin in a piano trio, may be good. So it also depends on what you're playing, also the circumstances. If you have a very dull acoustics, with too much damping, you might need more brilliance. While on the other hand, if you play in an over-acoustic room, you might still want a warmer, rounder sounding bow. So you know what? Maybe it would be a good idea for you to get one of each. So you are prepared whenever you change instruments or play in different circumstances. You can have a perfect selection of bows. But in all seriousness, there are musicians who own two different ARCUS bows and use them according to what they're playing. So for Mozart, they might use a different bow than playing Bach. And that is a well-known concept for wooden bows too. Of course, you have the same variation in wooden bows. But it's worth considering if you're playing mostly ARCUS bows or only ARCUS bows, as most people do, to not only get you one, but maybe a second one for change. To me, it's good also because it keeps my bowing technique fresh. I mean, as you've seen, I'm still learning, like every amateur. We're always learning, like every musician is. You always try to progress and get things done in a better way. And playing two different bows can actually be helpful. It's like having two different teachers, and everyone gives you a different input, and if you only have one teacher in all your life, it might not be the best solution. Same here. Like most people don't play one instrument all their life. So that's it. It got a little longer than initially planned, but there you have it, a pretty clear picture on what to expect. And yeah, now go out and try to find the bow that fulfills your wishes and your dreams, and don't get stuck with the first they put in your hands. The selections out there. All right, thanks a lot for watching, and enjoy some of the other videos. Give us some comments or questions if you have them, and we'll be happy to be in touch with you. Okay, bye.